In this video, we're going to talk about ethics and explain the importance of ethics in the field of accounting. So, ethics is really crucial in the accounting industry because accountants have access to sensitive financial information, and that can have significant implications for stakeholders, investors, creditors, the public. Poor ethics can quickly lead to financial fraud, misrepresentation of financial information, and even bankruptcy. So let me illustrate this for you by giving you two examples. Let's start with the first one, the big one, right? The Enron ethics scandal. It's one of the most notorious cases in corporate misconduct in history. Enron Corporation was an energy company based out of Houston, Texas. It was one of the most innovative and successful companies in the United States. It was, by market capitalization, the seventh largest company in the United States. To put that into perspective, I think the seventh largest company right now is Berkshire Hathaway. And most of you have probably heard of Berkshire Hathaway. It was massive. Enron was a massive corporation, and it collapsed in 2001. It was the largest corporate bankruptcy at that time. The scandal exposed widespread unethical behavior and fraudulent accounting practices within the company. Enron's unethical practices primarily revolved around manipulating their financial statements and hiding their debt through complex and deceptive accounting techniques. One of the key tactics used by Enron was the creation of a special purpose entity, many of these special purpose entities. And they were off balance sheet entities that allowed Enron to keep the debt off of its financial statements. So rather than having all this debt on the Enron balance sheet, they were on these special purpose entities loaded up with all the debt. So Enron would transfer the debt from the big golden child, large, massive, successful, innovative company to these special purpose businesses. And not only the debt, but also the losses of Enron were ended up transferring to these industries, making Enron look more profitable, like it didn't have a lot of debt, and making these SPEs look bad, but nobody was looking, right? Nobody cared about those. We cared about Enron, the golden child. And so it gave Enron this appearance of financial strength and profitability that it didn't have. The unethical practices at Enron were not just limited to accounting fraud. The company also engaged in market manipulation. It created artificial shortages of energy. If you don't know Enron, the EN stands for energy. They were an energy conglomerate. And so they created these artificial shortages of electricity, and they manipulated energy prices in California's deregulated energy market. The traders at Enron exploited loopholes, and they engaged in unethical trading practices, all designed to maximize their profits at the expense of the consumers. So the consequences of the Enron scandal were far-reaching, to the point 20 years later, we still talk about it in every accounting class at every college, right? Thousands of employees of Enron and other companies lost their jobs. They lost their retirement savings. The shareholders of Enron, and again, seventh largest company by market capitalization, that's a lot of shareholders. The market capitalization is defined as the number of shares outstanding times the market price for those shares, right? Massive amount of money we're talking about. And this is money sitting in people's 401k accounts, in their IRAs. Right? These are investment vehicles for people for their retirement. And all of a sudden, billions of dollars of the stock value just disappeared. The stock went from, I think it was $90 a share to about $1 per share, virtually within days or weeks. I mean, it was very fast as all of a sudden, once the public found out about all this, it was sell, 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 right? Nobody wanted the stock. It was worthless. And that really hurt a lot of people, especially the employees of Enron, who had a lot of their retirement invested in Enron stock, as you do, right? So it was not good. It also had just significant impact on public trust in the corporate sector. right? And it led to calls for stricter regulations and oversight. And we'll talk about some of those. More recently, right, Enron was back in 2001, but in November 2022, we witnessed the collapse of cryptocurrency exchange FTX. There was a report out by CoinDesk that highlighted these potential leverage and solvency concerns involving the affiliate trading firm Alameda Research. And then since then, the company has filed for bankruptcy. And the former CEO, Sam Bankman-Fried, has been charged with committing one of the largest financial crimes in American history. And we don't know where all that's going to play out yet, but we do know FTX doesn't exist anymore. Sam Bankman-Fried, I don't think he's technically behind bars, but I think he's on home arrest. And I know that he's trying to get the charges dropped, but anybody with any sense, I don't want to comment on it. I'm not an expert on it, but it seems like some people need to go to jail. I don't know. I don't know, but we'll see how it plays out because that's happening in real time. And that was massive. To prevent, these kind of scandals, these unethical practices, we have several ethics laws that have been put into place to regulate the accounting industry. And we'll likely see new laws written in the future to better regulate the crypto industry. One of the most important ethics laws is the Sarbanes-Oxley Act of 2002. It's named after two senators, Senator Sarbanes and Senator Oxley. The purpose of the Sarbanes-Oxley Act is to increase corporate accountability, transparency, and overall integrity by requiring public companies, and when I say public companies, I mean those businesses who have offered stock to the public, to you and me as potential investors, right? Public companies, and they are required by SOX to establish and maintain certain internal controls for financial reporting. And we'll talk more about what internal controls are in later chapters. It also established the Public Accounting Oversight Board to regulate public accounting firms, right? Not just the public corporations, but the public accounting firms, the big four that we talked about in the last video, PricewaterhouseCoopers, Deloitte, KPMG, and Ernst & Young, and every other public accounting firm and the CPAs who work with them. They now have oversight through this Public Accounting Oversight Board, and they have regulations that they have to adhere. Other regulations have also been enacted. There was the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act. That introduced additional measures to regulate financial institutions and promote market transparency following the 2008 financial crisis. In addition to laws, we also have professional organizations like the American Institute of CPAs that have developed codes of ethics to guide accountants' conducts. So the AICPA Code of Professional Conduct provides a framework for CPAs to uphold ethical standards, including principles like integrity, objectivity, and confidentiality. Just like you would expect confidentiality with a lawyer, you should also expect some confidentiality with a CPA. So adhering to these codes just helps accountants navigate any ethical dilemmas that may come up. It helps to maintain the trust of their clients and their stakeholders. So what you have to understand, though, is ethics is an ongoing process. There's never going to be a right answer. There's never going to be a finish line on the ethics discussion. The landscape is going to continue to evolve. New challenges are going to arise, particularly in emerging fields like with cryptocurrency and other new technologies, especially with AI coming into the fold. The accounting profession just has to adapt. It always has, it always will, and it will develop new guidelines and regulations to address any evolving ethics concerns as they come through. So in conclusion, just to summarize, emphasizing ethics in the accounting industry is paramount for safeguarding the interests of stakeholders and maintaining the integrity of financial information. By learning from these historical failures and enacting appropriate laws and codes of conduct, accountants can ensure that their practices uphold the highest ethical standards, contributing to a more trustworthy and transparent financial environment.